Hey there, Adam here. Welcome back to another video. In this one, it's going to be 7 years of Facebook ad advice in just 22 minutes. So if you don't know who I am, I actually started running Facebook ads back in January of 2017. So a little actually 7.5 years ago, basically. And since then have gone up to spend over $10 million at a very, very, very profitable clip. I very take profit very serious and have generated tens of millions of dollars since then. And just this last month, literally generated over just shy of $1.3 million just with Facebook ads. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. All right, so number one is execute during key promo periods. So on this top screenshot here, you can see for a client that we worked with last month, we were able to do just a little over $376,000 in revenue, basically increasing their sales by about 139%, their orders by 135%, and basically their online store sessions by 308. And basically with this, there was basically an offer running for a majority of the month. And so what did we do? We executed really, really well. We set up a separate campaign, separate CBO campaign. We launched a ton of new creatives for that offer. And also because our main ads, as we kept filing in more and more new ones on a weekly basis, we started scaling that up as well too, and really just executed really, really well. And this bottom screenshot here, you can see here during Q4, which essentially is November, December. Let's be very, very honest about that. Basically, you can see here $1.4 million in revenue just with this one brand on Facebook ads, basically for the 2-month period. And basically the thing about these time periods, they're so key for, success with meta ads, essentially because, especially in Q4, a lot of brands will make a massive chunk of their revenue in a very, very short window of time, especially during November, December. It's just so critical. So really the key for these, usually with Facebook ads, is 1, plan ahead every single time. 2 is always, really making sure that you're basically setting up a separate campaign just for all those offer ads, and then really raising your main campaign and scaling up that way. So that is number 1. Number 2, creative over structure. So ad account structure nowadays just doesn't really matter as much. It's all about the creative output and really producing quality as well as, quantity as well too, with well-researched backed creative. And you can see here, this is a very, very funny meme that essentially is true, which is really, really funny. So, basically like I was saying, I've been doing Facebook ads since 2017. And the thing is, a lot of the stuff actually worked, which is pretty funny. You can see here, basically, I think this initiate checkout plus add to cart lookalike might outperform, 95% video views, or 1 to 2%, 75% video views, 2 to 3. It's just so nitpicking at these tiny little audiences, tries to target better in Facebook, segments his ad sets by demographic and labels them. Uses a very consistent naming scheme, needs to use engagement gimmicks to win, still loses the auctions, keeps testing the same shitty creatives, fights for a 1.79 ROAS. And then you can see on here, the Chad Broad, let her rip, just foot on the table, USC, UK 30, nothing else, just send it. Literally no naming scheme, doesn't even, fix it. Just dials in the creatives. Only thing that tracks and matters is the conversions. Forgets about active campaigns for months, still profitable, and then gets a 4.32 ROAS. And that's really where ads have really gone nowadays, and really it's quite literally facts. I'd say, before 2020, back in 2017, 2018, 2019, this was how ads was run. And this is how you scaled. You literally find a couple ads, and then you literally just start duplicating a bunch of audiences, and you just scale. It was literally that easy. Nowadays, ever since basically TikTok started really blowing up, I have a friend that basically works at TikTok, and ever since they really started blowing up in 2020, they basically really content has really taken over. And so basically the way Facebook works as a company is if they can't buy you out, for example, they just bought Instagram, they bought WhatsApp, et cetera, then they'll just basically just rip your most proprietary thing. So for example, Snapchat, they basically just ripped stories and created Instagram stories. And then with TikTok, they couldn't buy out TikTok, and so they just created Instagram Reels and Facebook Reels and all that kind of stuff. So they basically move towards just all about creative, and that's really where it's gone to. So it's one of those things where you just have to adapt and grow as it goes along. And the fact of the matter is, as funny as this is, it's actually true too, which is awesome. Number three is research. Okay. So whenever we're researching on, for your target audience, I would focus on these main things. One is desires, like what does the target audience truly want? Benefits of your product, essentially. Pain points, what are the pain points that the, target customer is going through? Law of leadership. Basically, what are those things that basically you're first in a category or even any sort of subcategory, anything that basically you can market as new, because consumers are just much more receptive to what's new rather than what's better. So this is more of a reflection on your actual brand itself and your products and where you basically stand in the marketplace. Features of product. Now, of course, whenever we're marketing features, we always tie it back to a benefit. We'll never, and it basically just solidifies the benefit. As an example, like for example, if you're saying, I don't know, with this microphone, let's just say it's the world's strongest microphone, but if you label it as, it's made out of this cast iron, 1310, cast iron, obviously it justifies that, that benefit or that point. You get what I mean? Obviously, terrible example, but you get what I mean there. Feature always has to tie back to the benefit when you're marketing it. In terms of, and next up to competitor weaknesses, really good way to find these actually is Amazon, and then really just searching the product and finding, competitor products, and just go to the 1-star reviews, and you'll just see what people just rip about the product, weaknesses of the competitors. And so you can actually, tailor that in the marketing really, really well and see what people, basically complain about. Really, really good example of this. We have a brand that sells these like leak-proof mats for that can multiple different use cases. The most common one is like when kids wet the bed when they're like anywhere from like 3 to like 8 years old and stuff like that. And weakness that we found is a lot of people were complaining that it just wasn't fully leak-proof. And so we really, in our marketing, we really show, not only do we demonstrate it like visually, but we actually like explain it and explain why, how it's made out of this PodTex technology, triple layer essentially, that really justifies and really shows that it's full leak proof. So that's a really good example of why if I won't want to find that. Objections, if it's something like we're, a really good example, a lot of times if something's really expensive and people are, really, really complaining about it, a really good place to find these is in your ad comments and seeing what people are commenting. Sometimes there's just stuff that's just trolls on there, but sometimes there's actually really valuable stuff with like genuine objections, whether it's too expensive or they don't understand something. Could be a multitude of different things, but really you want to make sure you handle those. And also failed solutions as well too. So going back to that waterproof mat example, a really good place to find failed solutions is just search up the problem on Google and go through like different Reddit threads. Works insanely well, and you can basically just see exactly what other people have tried and they just don't even know about your product. So that's how you can go out to the masses and say, hey, you've tried this and this and probably hasn't worked. Introducing this new product, does this and this, help solve that, etc., etc. So that's number 3. Number 4, split testing offers. Now, this guide here from Replo was a really, really, really good guide. Basically had so many different offers. I can leave this link down in the description below, but you can get so creative with offers. There's just literally an infinite amount. So there was drinks, there's just so many ways, creative ways, but you can see a very, very commonality is you really need to get creative with your offers and map out your unit economics and hook people in and offer, some, even Fenty Beauty, 15% off orders over $50, 25% off orders over $75 with code. So you can see there, Fenty Beauty, literally $1 billion brand with Rihanna, literally split testing offers. So 3 simple ones to start with that are pretty proven and really, really help out and also help solve different problems. For example, this one here will help, basically increase your conversion rate because people are literally getting a discount off. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's basic, but it works. That's getting X amount off your first purchase. Get 15% off your first order as an example. This one here just works insanely well. Any sort of buy 2, get 1 free, buy 3, get 1 free. This will help boost your AOV because now you're basically incentivizing them to buy at least multiple rather than one, right? And this just works incredibly, incredibly well. We have a brand that we work with that sells, t-shirts, and then they're also in the MMA space and all kind of stuff. And recently we launched this offer, buy 2 rash guards, get 1 free, and it is absolutely ripping. And now we're scaling them up aggressively again because now the AOV is way higher than it was before. And we're also acquiring customers a lot cheaper. So really, really key there. Another one as well too is any sort of free gift with purchase or free mystery gift with purchase, or, get a free t-shirt with it. Any sort of thing like that. People love free stuff. It goes back to this one here, get one free. People love free stuff. So if you can hook them in with anything free, they're going to love it. So this one here will end up a lot of times, basically increasing conversion rate essentially. Number 5, the ad sells the click, the website sells the product. Therefore, your website needs to be dialed. Okay, so this one obviously is a very, very in-depth thing. I actually made a breakdown here. The top 7 Shopify stores doing, tens of millions, if not, hundreds of millions in revenue. There's even a $1 billion brand on there as well. That breaks down exactly all the commonalities. And also I made another video here on how to 2x your Shopify conversion rate as well. So give those a watch regarding, websites. So it's one of those things where a lot of people, they'll just keep launching new ads when it's like, you're literally sending it to a leaky bucket. If you literally just focus on, improving the website, you're literally going to just it's going to help you scale your ads so much easier because the website is dialed. And just know what's important in terms of your category. Like if you're a more visual brand, swimwear, fashion, jewelry, and just obviously in general, the photos are always really, really important. But those kind of brands, like the photos is literally all that. It's the product and the photos is just 80-20 rule for those kind of brands. And if you're, something else sells a problem, then you need to have your description needs to be very, very dialed. You need to explain things a lot more in depth. You may need to have an FAQ section on there. All that sort of stuff needs to be built out a lot more rather than, obviously just the imagery and, quick little description. So hopefully that makes sense. Those will explain it a lot more in depth. Number 6 is split testing different landing pages. Now, of course, if you're like a fashion, swimwear, jewelry brand, don't need to worry about it as much. But if you're any kind of brand that basically solves a problem or has a ton of different benefits or is kind of complex or higher ticket, split testing different types of landing pages help out tremendously. Shoppable landing page, listicle. That's where those 5 reasons why moms are obsessed with X product as an example, and you basically kind of show in a visual way. Blog, avatorial, these ones here still work. And it's one of those things where, some of the bigger brands literally will just send over 90% of their traffic not even to their website. Will literally send them to landing pages. So it's one of those things that just helps lower cost per acquisition and, allows you to scale further. So it's one of those things off platform that really, really matters a lot. Number 7 is you want to strategize to get the right unit economics. You want to really focus on acquiring customers that have the highest gross profit and also for the most popular products. Really good example of this, I was actually just speaking to a brand owner. I think she was doing about 2.5 million a year or so. And she was kind of in the furniture space and home decor space. And basically she is drop shipping all her products in the US essentially. And the problem is her gross margins are very, very low because everything is basically all USA made, all that sort of stuff. And so basically what I sat down with her is, and I think it ranged anywhere from 35-ish percent, 30% upwards to 60% in terms of gross margin. So I was like, okay, what are the most popular products that have the highest gross margins, and really just focusing on acquiring customers for those, right? So that's an example of just prioritizing, the right products as an example. Now, in terms of just overall unit economics, what I basically mean by that is mainly your AOV conversion rate, and then of course your gross margins. So gross margins is basically, your sales price minus your cost of goods sold, your shipping costs, and payment processor fees, et cetera, et cetera. Even though they're only a couple percent, but you should add it in there as well. Cost of goods delivered. I kind of like that a little bit better. So basically AOV in terms of bad unit economics is below $50. Below $50 is you're getting kind of tough. It's going to make your life a lot harder. Now, doesn't mean it's not possible to scale with an AOV below $50. I do want to make that very, very clear. However, if you are below $50, you definitely need a solid gross margin, and your conversion rate needs to be like minimum, like 3 to 4%, like minimum, to be honest, in order to really make it sense. Or you're just an insanely like very low competition niche where it's just, you're able to just get your cost per click. It's just so cheap because there's basically no competition, which we do have a couple of those kind of brands as well. So it is absolutely doable. Now, in terms of good unit economics, I would say AOV above $50. Okay. Conversion rate, minimum 2%. And then gross margins, minimum 60%. By the way, with the gross margin, what I mean by that is if you sell something for $100, that means you're making $60 in terms of gross profit. So that's not including ad costs, operational costs, anything like that. Just off that, just basically the gross margin off that. Now, in terms of elite unit economics, AOV needs to be above $100. Conversion rate needs to be above 4%. And then gross margins above 80%. The reason why the 80% works so incredibly well, if I just do some really quick math here, then I go divided by divided by 0.8. Basically, your break-even return on ad spend is 1.25. So that just makes it incredibly powerful. Whereas on these, with a less than 50%, if you enter in the same math here and you go 0.5, you basically need a 2x in terms of the profitability. Whereas, these guys with these kind of margins, you have so much more room to scale. Whereas if you're like, you have to be getting at least a 2x bare minimum. And then if you have like really, 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 really bad, we're talking like 35% gross, you need almost a 3x, you need 3x in your money. Bare minimum, it's so incredibly hard. That's why the most valuable companies in the world have the highest gross profit margins, or they're full on just software companies and literally their gross margins are just literally insane. Like, you look at Meta, you look at, Google, Meta, all those kind of companies. So yeah, something to note regarding that. Number 8 is to really have a solid email SMS strategy in the back end to make more off each customer acquired, right? So the thing about, Facebook ads, it really is a growth channel. Now, of course, you can generate a lot of profit with it, but social really is for growth and emails for profit. And I remember hearing that quote somewhere, and it's actually really, really, really true. Now, of course, you want to be as profitable as you can be on the front end, but how you make a lot of the profit is really just email and SMS. And you're literally just, generating revenue with zero ad costs involved. So it's very, very, very key to build the foundation with your email SMS strategy as well too, while you're funneling in the acquisition side of things. So both of them married combined makes a, basically growing business that also generates a lot of profit. Okay. So very, very, very key there. Number 9 is to scale to other countries. I see a lot of brands that they just get stuck in this, US, market, and that's all they want to do is just market in the US, market in the US, market in the US. But at some point, I'd say when you're doing at least $50 million a year or so, is to look at, scaling up to other countries. Now, a few of the other main ones, I would say Canada, UK, Australia are obviously the big 4, very, very common. New Zealand as well. You can check that in there as well too. But I don't see a lot of brands, going out to other European countries. Germany is a huge, huge, huge market. France, some of those other European countries. And then there's other countries out there, some random ones that have, high spending power, like Singapore, things like that too as well. So it's one of those things where you do want to, as you kind of, maximize it out, really look at scaling to other countries to really maximize the revenue. And the thing is, I find other countries like Canada and, Australia, those kind of markets will have lower competition essentially. So it's one of those things where you can actually generate a higher ROI on average compared to the US market, where it's just the most competitive. So something to note there. Number 10 is the platform will continue to change, but the marketing foundations won't, right? So like I said, I've been doing this for over 7 years now, and the amount of changes that Facebook has made as a platform is just insane. It's just every few months, something changes. They make one little tweak. It's just a constant change. And then the biggest one out of, my 7-year career doing it was iOS 14. Now that threw everyone for a loop. That happened in 2021 and, basically shut off the tracking. And so it was insane. And basically all these other softwares were born to, help the tracking, and you had to really look at MER and look at how much you're spending on the platform and really compare it to, Shopify or whatever, e-commerce platform you're using to track the sales. So it's one of those things where it's just constantly changing. You have to be constantly dynamic, but at the same time, the marketing foundations really don't change. Like, the main desires of, the customers just really won't change. The pain points won't change. And like some of these markets are just so evergreen. Like there will always be moms. There's always gonna be babies born. There's always gonna be people who love golf, myself included. You know what I mean? It's just like there's always evergreen audiences, and they always have the same pain points and the same desires. And so it's one of those things, and the marketing foundations just really just don't change, to be honest. So it's one of those things, once you really master this and understand those marketing foundations, you're going to be basically set for life, to be honest, and are going to be in a really, really good spot. So one of those things where the platforms are just, at the end of the day, all they really care about is the users and giving them the best experience possible. So if you're able to do that and, create really, really good ads on the platform, you're going to be all right. And just as long as everything else really, really checks out. Number 11 is during key economic times, make sure to capitalize. When things get easy, go harder. A really, really good example of this is, during 2020. 2020 was just the golden era, of Facebook ads. It was just insane. The return ad spend numbers, the cost per acquisition numbers, you'd be seeing $5, left, right, and center. It was just insane. And the thing is, I saw a lot of brands, even myself included, looking back, is that just because I was only at that point, only had 3 years experience, didn't realize how easy it got. I thought it was just, we were just improving and, things were just kind of cruising along nicely. But at the end of the day, it was a golden era where you really could have really, really capitalized. And there's a brand that we work with still to this day that capitalized 10 times harder than any other brand. They took out capital and they just pushed insanely hard and then just built this, massive business. And the thing is, it's one of those things where these key economic times, the thing is, it will come around again. So the thing is, when it happens again, it's not a matter of if, but when. Something is just a boom going on and things just feel so easy, go harder and capitalize. Trust me when I say this, it is going to happen again. There's going to be a golden opportunity, and just don't just rest on your laurels. Go harder and capitalize. So that's, nice little lesson there for you. And number 12 is to have fun and never stop learning and growing. At the end of the day, Facebook ads is, it's actually really, really fun. It's enjoyable. I mean, for me personally, I honestly love it. It really feels like a video game to me. And really at the end of the day, you do want to keep just learning and growing and keep studying and just getting better and better and better at everything. It's one of those things that it's just such a dynamic industry. It's constantly changing, and it's one of those things that you just need to stay on top of and just learn to love it and just keep growing. So that about wraps it up. I hope you enjoyed the video. Cheers for watching for all the way to the end, and we'll see you in the next one.